Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Alright.
Hare Krishna. Before I joined ISKCON, I was searching for spirituality. I didn't know about yoga, meditation, but when I read Prabhupada's books, my whole concept of what is yoga or what is meditation changed.
It was just really kind of bottling, like it was really holding down like my true ambition to search for something higher, and it wasn't really giving me much freedom if I was gonna go like work every day and try to like go to college to like please my dad or so I ended up just I just started traveling, you know. I hit the road, and so that was like the ultimate goal, was to find some spiritual foundation in my life. My first like positive experience was I was in Chicago when I was traveling, and I found one of the books on the ground, or like on a staircase, like someone left it there. And I saw like in a distance like one of the monks like walking across the street, and I understood that he probably just gave this book to someone, and whoever received the book didn't really appreciate it, so they just left it on a staircase. And I thought the cover was pretty interesting because it's called The Perfection of Yoga, and I was already, you know, looking for you know, some spiritual philosophy of meditation and yoga. So I picked up the book and I read it on the way back to heading back to California, and yeah, it just blew my mind because they had the answers I was looking for just within that little book. It's a really small booklet. It just makes so much sense. I came back to visit my parents, and then I was gonna head to Mexico. I just wanted to travel. I didn't know where I was gonna go. I just was gonna let like wherever like destiny takes me, you know. That's where I was gonna go. But I ended up like camping out in Venice Beach for a couple weeks, and I met one of the devotees there passing out food. He does that, I think, like at least once a week. He goes out there and passes out a bunch of prasadam, and I noticed that he was from a temple, you know? So I started asking him questions about the book. I really wanted to talk to a devotee, but I didn't know where to come in contact with one of them. So I saw him there, so I was really anxious to go talk to him. So I started talking to him, and he was just really really sincere. He just was listening to everything I had to say, you know, and he just like let me talk and let me reveal my mind. No one really understood where I was at, you know, but I can understand that he understood, you know. So I was talking to him, and he invited me here, and I didn't know it was so close. It's just right down the street from Venice Beach. So I took the bus here on during a Sunday festival, and that's how I came to the temple for the first time. I never left from that Sunday I came. I ended up just staying around here. Yeah, in the Vedic tradition, we have ashrams, which means, you know, a facility for one to practice spiritual life. And so there's 4 ashrams. There's the Brahmachari and Brahmacharini ashram, which is this building right here, where all the celibate monks live, and upstairs where we live. And then right behind you is the Grihastha ashram, which means the householder ashram. There's many families that live here, actually this building and the next building up. And so people live there with their kids and wives and practice spiritual life. And there's a Vanaprastha ashram, which means retired life. And that's for someone that was a Grihastha in the householder life, but he retired. And in that way, he renounces his family and his material possessions to, you know, live more spiritually and try to
try to achieve the ultimate goal of life. And then there's the sannyas ashram, which is the renounced order of life, where you completely renounce everything within this material world, and you pretty much just travel and preach, and you don't have any material possessions, and you just depend on God to facilitate your material necessities. And this is the highest stage, the highest order of life you can be in spiritual life. And this takes years and years of spiritual practice and spiritual realization. And it takes...
So you're hoping to get there. That's what, like...
I mean, ultimately, the highest goal is to go back to Godhead. So any ashram that you're in, people are in different ashrams according to their own capacities and their own conditionings, and you know, their own natures. And so one who's in the householder life, the reason why Grihastha ashram is there is for someone who you know, is more comfortable with more material facilities. They're comfortable having a wife and a kid, and in this way they're more comfortable living a spiritual life in that way. And you know, all the ashrams are basically to live a spiritual life. And if someone feels more comfortable being celibate, being a monk, and not having any more material you know, obligations within this world, then it's easier for him to be a brahmachari. So each ashram is just according to your own nature. You know, you don't need to be in any ashram. It's just according to your own capacity. And but ultimately, the highest order is sannyas. And if we can, you know, work towards that, you know, it's good. But if you're not capable of doing that, it's no disqualification on your part. You know, you can still be highly self-realized, even being married and having a family. So it's just your own nature, your own decision, really. So there's room for everyone. You know, it doesn't matter what you are in this material world. You know, your mental capacity. Everyone can actually achieve the ultimate goal of life as long as they have a human form of body. So that's what we're doing here. We're facilitating everyone's different natures and needs so they can be comfortable in their material surroundings and practice spiritual life and make, you know, tangible spiritual progress. This is the ashram, and this is where all the brahmacharis live, which are celibate monk students practicing Krishna consciousness. And yeah, so everyone lives in different rooms, and my particular room is upstairs, so we'll go upstairs. This is my roommate. His name is Bhakti Storm.
Hare Krishna.
And this is our room. This is where we sleep. And so yeah, this is what we have here. This is our altar, where we worship, offer water, offer food to pictures of Krishna and our spiritual master. We teach that God is infinite. So he has infinite forms. And the idea behind deities is that God is the proprietor of everything within the universe, material and spiritual universes. We teach that, you know, everything, this wood, our bodies, everything within the world is God's property. He created it. God is unlimited, so we teach that, you know, it's actually possible for him to enter a type of material element if a devotee desires him to. And in this way we can, you know, perceive him through our material senses, and we can directly worship the Lord through the form of the deity. Yeah, the analogy is kind of like a mailbox. If there's like a US mailbox like on the street, you can put your mail in there and you'll know for sure that it will go to the post office. So by worshiping and praying to deities, it's kind of like putting our prayer in a post box, and you know it's going directly to the Lord. It's also to help us always remember that the Lord actually has a form. We can like worship Him through this form. And since our material senses are very limited, and we can't conceive of anything beyond like material elements, He appears in material elements so He shows so we can see Him through our imperfect material senses. A lot of people think it's idol worship. It's not idol worship. If just like in the Bible, they actually pray to a burning bush, saying that that's God. So it's like, if this is idol worship, in the Bible, then they're praying to, a fire. So yeah, we teach it's not idol worship. It's actually, like God's unlimited. Why can't He appear in material elements if someone who devotes himself to serving God's so-called desires? So that's the idea behind deities.
And the mercy of Prasad.
And maybe someone else can explain it a little better, but to the best of my knowledge and to the best of my ability to speak, I guess that's what I have to say. So these are our lockers. We try to keep everything as simple as possible. We try to keep everything like neat. I'm not too neat, but I try to stay neat if I can. And simple, whatever we need, just a little bit of clothes, some water, books. Our main focus is studying, and vitamins, shaving cream, whatever. We try to keep it really simple. Our principle here is simple living and high thinking. So by keeping your life simple with only your basic necessities to live, helps you focus more and put all your energy into spiritual advancement and spiritual realization. You sleep on these mats, just a blanket, whatever, and that's pretty much it. It's my hamper. Got a little bit of clothes in there. I hand wash most of my clothes so they don't rip, and we don't use up too much water that's unnecessary. And this is actually our mop. We don't have a mop, so we just use a rag. We just go on the floor, and we try to keep this place as clean as possible, And it's my little studying area right here. Our main focus as being brahmacharis, which means student life, is studying literature, learning as much as we can, chanting mantras, meditation. And in this way, we don't really have any obligations outside of spiritual life. We don't have any material responsibilities. Our main focus is spiritual life, which is the essence of our true being. As human beings, we have the intelligence to actually advance in spiritual life. So we try to take full advantage of that, and not waste our time in unnecessary material topics, material talking, material opulence. So we have these beds here that we don't really sleep on, but they're just here. We plan to take them down, but we don't really have anywhere to put them right now. I'm not really in here too much. It's just to sleep or study, or that's pretty much it. Study and sleep, and then otherwise I'm like out and about, distributing books, or sometimes I'll do a little bit of chanting in here, and that's it. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, literally.
So we're new roommates.
It's gonna be awesome. On Sundays we're gonna give classes to each other for 20 minutes, so we can practice giving class and just like really ingrain everything that we learn. Because a lot of times when we read things, when you teach it back to somebody, it like really gets really becomes solid information at that point. At least that's the way it is for me. But I'm really excited because just living with Anthony's like, he's pretty fixed up. I'm still working on it, but he's got a lot to show me.
The 8 basic material elements would be, like earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and then the mind, the intelligence, and the false ego. So the idea is to offer like all these elements to Krishna. We offer the earth in the form of flower, offer fire, we offer water, we offer ether in the form of the conch shell, and we offer air in the form of like the incense. And then we're supposed to offer like our whole selves to God, our mind, our intelligence. And obviously we're supposed to get rid of our false ego.
I guess before, I was kind of more identified more as like, as like an artist, as a painter. I worked very hard to distinguish myself in that area. But, it was very important to me, something that came naturally to me, something that I like to do. But all these things can change, it's not, I really felt like the goal of art is to understand something about who you are, which is not simply limited to a particular activity. I guess in some sense, not all artists do that. Not all artists are really interested in pursuing this, some kind of content or some kind of, a lot of times the tendency is to be deliberately opposed to necessarily trying to find something to say. It's more just like, you just want to say something in like an attractive way or an interesting way. But, I feel like just kind of historically, it's always been the case that people want to come to understand something deeper about who they are, about what this life is about what, what we're doing here. If there's some, some kind of goal, something bigger and more interesting to be a part of.
this society is called the International Society of Krishna Consciousness, and it was founded by our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada back in the 60s, and he came all the way from India to, he first landed on Boston Harbor, and he took a boat here. I believe it took 3 months to get here, and while he was on the boat he had 2 heart attacks, and he knew nobody in America, and he only had equivalent to $7 to his name. And so he was coming here with nothing but a crate of books and the order of his spiritual master to preach Krishna consciousness in the Western countries. And so that's what he did with great faith in God, and with his purity he created a worldwide movement, and now we have hundreds of temples throughout the whole world in every country, and there's thousands and thousands of people practicing this Krishna consciousness.
I was a student in the university. I was very young. It happens like more than 20 years ago. Yes, I joined Krishna Consciousness in Peru in 1992. And I was living there until 2000. And then from 2000 to 2005, I was living in Puerto Rico. And then from Puerto Rico, I moved to Los Angeles in 2008. I learned many things. I learned that God is a person, that we are not this body. I learned that the goal of life is to develop love for God. I learned that we are meant to serve others, and that the real happiness comes from within, not from external things. Basically, that is the teachings of our philosophy. Like, for many people, religion is something else in their life. Like, you might have your hobbies in life, you might have things that you like, and also you can be a religious person. But Krishna consciousness is your life. Your life, your whole life is Krishna consciousness. It's not that Krishna consciousness is something else in your life. Krishna consciousness is everything for you. So what Krishna consciousness has done for me is everything. It's because we cannot live without, we cannot live separate from God. Our whole existence is to fall in love with God. So this is a process of reawakening that dormant love for God. Since I took Krishna consciousness, everything changed in my life for good. My relationships are much better, my health is much better, my way of thinking, my character is much better. So everything becomes more nicely, more auspicious in my life. And I do recommend that for everybody who wants to be happy, real happy.
One of the more pressing things, the more interesting things for me is that you know, there is a much bigger reality out there than most people are generally aware of. There's deeper parts of the self than you know, we're really ever usually educated about. You know, and so there's actually a very specific and scientific process by which we can connect to this kind of deeper nature. Like, it's just made my life a lot easier, a lot more blissful, a lot more fun, a lot less anxiety. you're trying to find some satisfaction for yourself, you know, and ultimately, like, the happiness that we're trying to achieve in this world for ourselves is just very very minute, because the only happiness we can experience is through our senses, through our material body, which is very limited. You know, so Krishna consciousness, it goes far beyond the body, and it actually like touches your heart, it touches your soul. It really reveals like knowledge, like coming, like that's already within us, and just like there's like so much knowledge to be learned here. It's incredible. It's so amazing here, you know. Just I feel so grateful just being able to be a part of this movement, being a part of this temple, and you know, developing like real friendships, you know. Like in this material world, like friendships are based on coming together for sense gratification. You know, it's kind of like an artificial friendship. But here, like, you develop true relationships, you know, spiritual relationships. And you know, I just want to you know, spend my life trying to help others, you know, trying to teach people knowledge to the best of my capacity. And I really encourage everyone to just check it out, you know, see if you find whatever you read in these books interesting, and because I'm sure if you have some intelligence that you'll really appreciate this very spiritual knowledge.
It's not so much about competing. It's not about competing with other people to do it. It's about cooperating, and it's about working with an attitude of service, and it's about understanding that there's, you know, there's things out there that are greater than us, you know. And you know, I think the tendency is for people to work so hard, you know, chasing after the effects. You know, they want fame, or they want distinction or recognition, or you know, wealth, or, you know, all these things. But, you know, these all come automatically as a consequence of coming to this deeper understanding. You know, these things are available to anybody who's you know, seriously kind of taken up that search. Not everybody, you know, will necessarily want those things once you find you know, once you find a deeper truth, once you find God, you know. It's nice because you get the best of both worlds, you know. You get a little bit of structure, but, you know, but you also have a lot of freedom, because you don't have to, you know, you don't have to sell yourself out to somebody who's not interested in your best interests. Kind of the whole purpose of this movement is to not only become enlightened ourselves, but also to enlighten others, you know. So this is like, you know, a large task, you know. We go to a lot of trouble, you know, going to different universities, distributing books, going to campuses, you know, concerts, just all these different places, you know. Meeting with all different kinds of people, putting on all kinds of events and celebrations. It's a really like exciting, amazing, revolutionary thing to be a part of. And you know, I think, you know, this is an evolving movement. It's like it's always changing. You know, I guess one thing I would just like to particularly touch on is just that a lot of times people have, like, you know, preconceived notions about what this movement is about. But it's just like anything else, you know. If you have, you know, people may have certain ideas about any, you know, like a religion or a business even, or so many different things. You know, you have so many preconceived notions, you know. But you know, if you could really kind of like, you know, have an open mind and kind of dig a little bit deeper, you know, it's like, you know, there's always something that you can learn from anybody. You know, particularly though from people who are actually like trying to learn and who are determined to discover something. We live very, you know, disciplined and strict lives. You know, in these, you know, we have a very, you know, rigid practice, I guess. You know, it's not necessarily. It's not that we're judgmental about other people, or that you know, you're not able to participate, you know, if you're not sort of in that kind of position, or you're not in that sort of time in your life, you know. But the idea is that, you know, I would just like to encourage everyone to, you know, participate in some way. You know, there's something really valuable in here. This is ancient wisdom that's come down to us from thousands and thousands and thousands of years. You know, time immemorial. This has come to us. You know, this is like the legacy of something of our human heritage. You know, and this is something very valuable, and you know, so we should find a way to be a part of it. We should find a way to something we can appreciate in this. You know, we should find something that we can apply to this. There's something for everyone. It doesn't matter about your all these bodily designations. It doesn't matter if you're young or old or rich or poor or black or white or male or female or whatever you are. This is the whole point. Is if we can all come to a better understanding about who we really are, you know, and about how to love ourselves and God and other people. Then we can have peace, you know. We could have an end to fighting needlessly, you know. We can have an end to exploitation and abject poverty and so many things.